everybody, and welcome to I got like
whoa,
choked, like
welcome to. We just changed the name of the show.
Welcome
to Two Girls and a Drink. We are live again. Kelly just forgot everything. I am Susie, and this is Sarah.
I just like blanked out for a minute. It was like my brain paused. It was like a glitch in the system.
Yeah, and you weren't even up late.
No, I'm never up late. I'm in bed at like 8.
All right. Well, welcome to Women Changing Our World.
Thank you. I know. It was weird. That was weird. But anyway. So we have a great interview that we taped last week that we're going to play, but we're still going to do our live stuff, and then we're going to play this amazing interview for you. But I will say the interview is very serious. I would not have children around because I just wouldn't.
Yes, it is. It contains a little bit of graphic content. So we have Laura Richards on today. She's amazing. She is a behavioral analyst. She
deals with serial killers. And
yes, she deals with
murderers and
homicides and victims. And she is a huge advocate for women, domestic violence awareness. So our interview, she's worked on many high-profile cases. So we're going to be talking and covering some of these very high-profile cases, but it certainly is graphic material.
And also, when we're talking about serial killers during this interview, she doesn't like to say the serial killer's name, so that might be a little confusing for some people, but she uses the initials, so we're assuming you can figure it out. We figured it out, but we're like crime junkies.
Yes. So she's going to tell us about cases, and she's worked on a lot, so you'll see.
Kimberly, our top fan, is watching.
Hey, Kim, good morning.
It is raining here as well, Kimberly.
Poor Kimberly. She's not going to get out of it. I'm telling you, it's raining and snowing every day where she is.
Hard pass.
I know. That.
Yeah. And I will say that we were supposed to have the Queen of Versailles on. Mm-hmm. She has now canceled on us 3 times. Mm-hmm. We don't really appreciate that.
Queen of Versailles.
We get that you're busy. We totally understand that you're busy. But you can't cancel on us like less than 24 hours in advance. We book our guests months in advance.
Yes.
So
that was
whoever was excited about her,
crappy.
Don't be excited because she's never coming on.
That was kind of, I don't know. I was excited to talk to her. I wanted to hear about the house.
I did too, but watch her documentary, I guess, if you want to.
I don't know.
If you care about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what I've been watching.
Oh.
Because, it's been raining for a week.
Yes.
So I'm at home.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
Watching everything on. I literally subscribe to every possible streaming service. I even have an Amazon Fire Stick.
Oh, I have
so
a Fire
it's like
Stick.
easier access.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm watching right now on Amazon Prime, on Stars. I like the, I like The Crown. I like kind of
I
like.
haven't watched The Crown yet.
Okay.
I heard
it might be a little slow for you.
Really?
I don't know, but I liked it. I watched The Spanish Princess. It's very interesting. It was about Henry, the blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Yeah. It was good. It entertained me on the weekend.
Yeah.
But what I'm most excited about what I'm watching on Peacock.
Oh, Peacock. Oh, we're branching out. Peacock. Okay.
So that's NBC's streaming service. Guess what they brought back?
What?
Punky Brewster.
Oh, I loved Punky
And so
Brewster.
now she's a mom.
Weird. I mean, that makes sense.
In the show.
Yeah. Oh, Punky. All right.
Right. So it's like a revival of Punky Brewster. I was so excited. So I've watched the first episode. It's cute.
When I was a kid, I watched Punky Brewster all the time.
Oh, that was like my favorite.
Punky Brewster had a treehouse.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, I used to draw out my dream treehouse. I'm telling you, I probably drew this treehouse 7,000 times. I would draw the same.
Did you ever build it?
No, and it had, because we lived in New York City, we didn't have trees. There was no house in a tree.
But you could. My husband's building. His treehouse is coming along quite nicely.
And Punky Brewster, her treehouse had these colorful steps
Yes.
that went up, and that was my favorite. I was like, this is my treehouse.
You could do it now.
We should ask Punky to come on the show.
Okay, speaking of building a treehouse,
Yeah.
Jerry's studio has been revamped.
It has.
I am not a huge fan.
So Kelly and I walked in this morning, and everything is rearranged. There's lots of stuff.
I'm very confused. There's lots of cords. I can't even see Judah.
Yeah,
he's like barricaded
Judah's
over there.
The love signs are just like sandwiching Judah in. It's like a Judah sandwich.
I know.
2 love signs and a Judah.
So, Jerry, Jamie is very creative, as I'm a very good interior decorator.
Yeah, Jerry.
We are going to redo.
This isn't
Not going to work, Jerry.
This is just not gonna work.
Can we redo your house or your house? Can we redo your studio? We're going to paint murals of Judah and Jerry on the wall.
love
Give
that
us a
idea.
key. We'll surprise you
I
over
know.
the weekend.
So Jerry's
Jerry.
trying to make room for when COVID's over so that he can have more guests. So you can have multiple guests at the same time is what he's going for. And I like that idea.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I just am not, he needs a little help.
We're going to help him.
Maybe.
We're gonna
He's
get
never he's never giving us the key to come in here by ourselves.
He's going to give us the
Like,
key.
never.
And also in breaking news, the heat today in the studio
Is at a balmy 70.
is on 70. I said to Jerry this morning, I didn't think the thermostat went up that high in the studio.
But what was it when we came in? That's the key. What was that
like
temperature?
43.
67. Look at me. I'm
43.
Like,
It was
43.
43.
No, whatever's happening with the lighting. I'm watching us on this replay right here,
Yeah.
so I can see comments and things.
Yeah.
The lighting is not doing it it's not giving me any help. I'll say that.
Oh.
I am like whiter than white against a white background with a white sweatshirt. Rethink those choices.
Have you tried any of your beauty counter stuff? Are you using your charcoal bar?
Okay, I was a little nervous about the charcoal bar, so I haven't started that yet.
You have-
But the lip gloss I
You
love.
it. You have to use it. You're
Where
going to
am
love it. It's weird because it's charcoal and it's black, but you're going to love all the beauty
that's what I
counter
was kind
stuff.
of like about. Oh,
Yeah.
I got a Nintendo Switch if we want to play later.
All right.
I have so many things in my bag.
All right.
Okay, here. I'm going to try this on. The beauty counter stuff.
Do it.
Okay, good.
All right. So before we get into this interview, I want to give you a couple of stats.
Like bad stats, good
Well,
stats?
just statistics here about. So this show is really dedicated to victims of domestic violence. It's a very serious issue. It affects women, mostly women, children, also some men, but literally all over the world. It is a universal topic, and it is very, very serious, and it is very, very heavy. But so leading up to this, we want to say that if you have been a victim of domestic violence, if you are in an unsafe situation, we please urge you to reach out to this hotline, reach out to anywhere, and we're going to post all of the numbers here. But so on average, 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. 20
insane.
people in a minute. 1 in 4 women.
One person every 20 minutes or 20 people every minute?
20 people every minute. 20 people every single minute are physically abused by their partner.
Wow.
Yep. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. 1 in 4 women. 1 in 4. That means that we all know someone that has been in that situation. 1 in 4 women, again, have been victims of severe physical violence. On a typical day, there's more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines nationwide. 20,000 phone calls a day. The presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. 500%.
That's crazy.
Yes, and women between the ages of 18 and 24 are most commonly abused by an intimate partner, by people that they know. This is a very, very serious subject, and Laura is working she's working on reform, trying to pass these petitions that we posted online to get new laws enacted to prevent these kinds of things. So one of her big things, and you'll see this in the interview in a second, is trying, so people that commit acts of domestic violence, she really believes, and I believe that too, is that people that have committed those crimes should be tracked. They should be put into a database.
On a parole system.
Exactly. They should be put into a database because they show that many people that commit really terrible, terrible acts of crime have had a previous history of domestic violence.
Right.
And if we're following these people, whether they're men or women, if we're following these people, we hope that we can change that so that those acts of violence, those huge, huge, terrible acts of
all
violence,
these red flags are
Right.
going to be caught.
Exactly.
Before it turns into
right. We
something
follow
awful.
terrorists. We follow
Right.
all these different people. Why not follow people that are committing these acts?
I agree. So we're going to post all the petitions that she's doing.
Yes.
On our Facebook page, so you can click the
Yes.
link and sign it.
So learn more, read about it. So let's get into the interview. What
Yeah,
do you think?
Judo, are you
all
ready
right,
for the
Judo,
interview?
are we ready? All right, let's do it.
All right.
Okay, I'm recording.
Well, welcome to our show. We're so excited to have you. We have been following you for so long, and we love your new podcast is amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for
So-
having me.
Before we get started, so for people that do not know who you are, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you are so awesome.
So I'm Laura Richards. I'm a criminal behavioural analyst, former New Scotland Yard, and also founder of the charity Paladin National Stalking Advocacy Service, and host of Real Crime Profile and host of Crime Analyst, my new solo project.
Well, I'm excited to listen to the solo project, and we are so honored that you're here with us. We're kind of newbies at our podcast and show, so we're so honored to have someone so experienced and to kind of learn about your journey. And, you know, figure out how you got into this. And really, we would like to focus too on your charity and awareness projects.
Yeah, so, 25 years ago was really when I started this journey. So working at New Scotland Yard, and my unit was set up in the wake of the Byford report, which was the report into the investigation into the murders in Yorkshire and Manchester. People call it the Yorkshire R inquiry, the R word, which I never use. Yeah. And I always ask people to not use it because it's very distressing for the families. Okay. So when I launched Crime Analyst, it seemed right to go back to the very beginning of my career, because what I learned at New Scotland Yard about that case simply wasn't accurate or true. And so I wanted to have a proper look at it. And of course, when you're 25 years in a career, you know so much more when you're a 25-year vet than what you knew at the beginning of it. So the journey of discovery for me with all cases is really important, but I'm looking at this particular case with a female lens, which I also think is very important, because oftentimes true crime, the directors of documentaries, the producers, they're men telling women's stories. And of course, most victims of crime are women and children. So I think it's really important that we have women telling women's stories. And really, since the beginning of my career, I've been telling stories, whether it's in New Scotland Yard when I was training detectives at Detective Training School, or whether I'm at a presentation, or whether I'm delivering training on Zoom. I'm telling primarily women's stories about what's happened to them, and I'm representing their voice and trying to affect change by creating law change like coercive control and stalking. And it all really ties together. So 25 years has been a long journey of raising awareness, trying to put women in the center of their own narratives, because our voices, we become footnotes all the time, sadly. Time. Yeah, so I want to remedy that, and Crime Analyst is a very good vehicle to do it, because even in a training session, and I train professionals at least twice a week, I can reach the professionals in the Zoom room, because we're now all virtual. So that might be 25 people, but I really want to reach the millions of people, the mums, the dads, the brothers, the sisters. And of course, podcasting is a brilliant way to do that, along with TV as well. But podcasting is a very intimate experience, I think.
Yeah. And I also love, like, even in your new podcast, like, I love what you do, because you don't focus on the killer per se, or these people that have committed such horrific crimes. Like, right. You focus so much on, you know, the people that were affected by it, and the family members and the victims that I totally agree with you, that are never really brought to light. It's like these people that are committing these crimes are put on this pedestal, that there's this, you know, horrific thing that happened and it's covered all over the media, but all of the victims and the people who were affected by it get lost, which is the saddest. So I love that you don't say people's names. Like, I think that is just like such a poignant way to do that. Like, really just so brilliant to kind of put all that aside and really focus on what matters.
Absolutely. And I think when I first started to look at this case, it was actually about 18 months ago, I asked people, name me a victim who PS killed, and no one could. No one could give me a name, not one. That's how dominant his narrative had become, that it was all about him. And even looking back at pictures, there's a whole catalogue of pictures of him, but there's normally only one for each victim that you can find. And again, that tells a story, doesn't it? And particularly if the perpetrator wants notoriety, and they want that, because their narcissism is so great, they want to be seen and heard, and they want people to talk about them. So I don't want to feed into their psychopathology. That's why even with PS, I like the fact that PS, it's like a postscript. Other people say piece of S, you know, that's what resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So Jamie and I were talking about this, you know, with Netflix and Hulu and all these streaming services.
their shows and movies and documentaries are really seeming to focus on the killers or the people doing bad things instead of really focusing on the victim and their families. Do you think companies and shows that are kind of highlighting and making these criminals really famous and interesting to people, do you think that's having an effect on our community as a whole? And also, do you think it is perpetuating or propelling people who maybe have an inkling to do violent things? Is it pushing them over the edge because they also want the notoriety and the fame?
Well, in short, yes and yes. And working in America, the phenomenon of mass shootings where someone's trying to up the body count to become someone, that is a very clear demonstration that normally when there's one, there's another. And whenever I've talked to media outlets, I've said that, okay, I will come and talk to you, but you have to agree not to say his name. And that's my condition. Now, in New Zealand, the Prime Minister has actually said no mass shooter will be named. And I think every country should do exactly the same because they're seeking notoriety. And I think really the true crime world has to very carefully consider how cases are portrayed. Because even someone buying the T-shirt with PS's face on it, or, you know, TB, a very big serial killer over in America, right. You know, there's this whole kind of following that it's become kind of cult-esque. And actually the one thing that I see, having studied serial killers, is that they are largely unremarkable. There is nothing really remarkable about any of them other than they have a huge ego and really they feel like they're a no one and they want to become a someone. And it's the victims we should be talking about. They're far more interesting and they deserve to be honored and remembered. So I think slowly there is a change happening, but it doesn't help when Netflix release a big show on the case that I'm covering and they call it the R word, when all the families signed up to do it on the basis that it was called Once Upon a Time in Yorkshire. And I think that's hugely irresponsible to change the name and upset so many of the families.
I would be furious.
Absolutely.
They all are. And the same with I'll say his name because people won't know it otherwise, but Richard Ramirez that we're covering on Real Crime Profile. Right. Netflix titled their show with his moniker. And what I've seen across the series that I've worked is that then those perpetrators try and live up to that moniker. And the same as PS did, that I'm covering Crime Analyst, he drew great power and strength from being this big, scary caricature that people had created of him, when really he wouldn't say boo to a goose in real life. And the same with, you know, RR in the Netflix show. Well, I know from his offenses towards the end, before he was caught, he was saying as a calling card, tell them and use the moniker has been here. So they trade off of it. So I think it's really important that we mute their narrative and who they are. We extrapolate the learning, as people like me will do, and then we toss them aside because they're really not that interesting. You know, remembering the victims is.
Have you ever come across women serial killers? Because I've never heard of any.
I have, and they tend to be much rarer. People tend to put them in typologies, which I don't agree with, like the Black Widow, for example. Right. You know, and these typologies normally are a misnomer and they're inaccurate. But what I do see about women who kill is women tend to kill for their own safety and protection and in defense. They don't tend to kill in a way that is sexually motivated or to derive power and control over someone. The motivations are very different. And normally most women have been brutalized over a period of time at some point in their lives to take them to that place. And again, it's not to excuse any form of violence because I don't condone violence as being the answer. But some women do kill because they feel it's their only way out. And men, unfortunately, that's not what we see in terms of their motivation. It's much more about a hatred towards women and power and control issues.
Right. So when you have studied, because you've studied so many cases, high profile cases, all of these different men, how does a serial killer even exist? How does someone come to be? How does someone's background shape them into becoming basically a monster?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that they're not monsters. They are just like PS.
Right.
Why he was overlooked so many times was because he was so unremarkable. And therefore, when we use the word monster, we think about the two-headed monster. Now, if they look like that, our job would be easy. We'd be able to find them and see them because they'd stand out, right? But these guys hide in plain sight. They eat at our tables. They're our friends. We marry them. They're our boyfriends. They're our work colleagues. And that's the issue. But when I go back in the cases that I've worked and done what I call a psychological autopsy, going back to their childhood, most of them have been abused as well. So domestic violence plays a very serious role or domestic violence perpetrators, I should say, who are primarily men, play a very clear role in the shaping of young boys and their future decision-making. So, but it's nature and nurture. We know there's a psychopathy gene that if it's present and it's expressed and then someone's living with a domestic violence abuser, that gene may well be expressed and that person may well go on to try and get power over people. And that power over and control over people is really what you're looking for when you're examining and analyzing behavior. It's the control and it's the misogyny and it's deep-seated hatred and wanting to get power and control over other people, because normally when they were little, they were abused and they didn't have that power. And then that's what they seek. That's what motivates them.
Well, and I know you've worked on cases, and the cases that disturb me the most are the crimes against children, because children are helpless, right? But there are neighbors, like you said, there are friends, there are coworkers. How can normal people spot that something is wrong?
In terms of what? In terms of a child or in terms of a perpetrator?
Adults who, end up committing heinous crimes against their children. Are there certain things that people could look for? Or are there certain signs, parents that end up killing their children?
Well, I mean, firstly, I would argue that women mostly are also not able to defend themselves, because if you have male violence on a physicality level, women just cannot match a violent man. Okay, no matter what our training, and I'm trained through British military fitness, I've got all sorts of training. If taken by surprise by someone like PS from behind who's talked to me and lulled me into a full sense of security, I'm as innocent and as defenseless like a child, right? So, I mean, for children, again, and what we always have to think about is that there's more abuse and violence in the home than outside of the home. Right. So I always say, in terms of abuse, anyone who wants to spend more time with your child than you do, you should be asking questions about. Yeah. And right now, there's the Farrow versus Allen documentary series that's on. And obviously, we've heard a lot of, a fair amount from Dylan Farrow about her being abused. She claims that she was abused by Woody Allen. And the whole way through the first part of the documentary is about how everyone is testifying to the fact that he always singled and zeroed in on Dylan and wanted to spend time with her all the time. Now, an adult wanting to spend time with the 5-year-old, 6-year-old, whether they're adopted, and she wasn't adopted to him at that time, at the expense of all the other children that are there, and people saying that he always wanted to be with her, that's a red flag. And at the very least, questions should be asked, because it's not normal for an adult male to want to spend time with a child. Right. And I mean that in the sense, it's not like they're playing a sport or they're doing a certain activity. It was wanting to monopolize her time all the time. Right. So asking questions about that. You think about Larry Nassar, right? The gymnast coach. Right. He wanted to spend time with children all the time. Even people around him would say that he at dinner parties would go downstairs into the basement with the kids who were there, and he would sit there with them. Now, again, there's a group full of adults, a room full of adults. Why didn't anyone think that was odd? Because it's an unusual thing. So that's my first thing, that most of the abuse takes place by Uncle Jerry and Uncle Tom, and the men that we see as good pillars of the community. And so therefore it's a misnomer when we think about stranger danger. Right. And really any other red flags is when you hear a child talking about things, keeping secrets or being touched in certain places. These are all things we should be asking more questions about. But what I do see too often is that children are silenced and they're not asked the right questions about what's going on. That's how you're going to keep children far safer and questioning the adults' behavior, not questioning the child's behavior.
Right. And what is so probably two of the most high profile cases of children that I can think of would be, Kelly Anthony. Obviously, like a case that wasn't really any abuse, right? I know that you have worked a little bit, like looked into that case a little bit, Casey Anthony or even John Benet Ramsey, that, we're still trying to put pieces together, right, of all of these horrific things.
Yes, I mean, Kaylee Anthony, and I'm glad you said Kaylee Anthony and not her mother's name to begin with, because that little girl did get written out of her narrative. But what I can say, having reinvestigated the case, I saw no signs of child abuse prior. Right. Which makes it highly unusual and points to me much more, with everything that I know about the case, that it was more likely to be accidental with a mother who lied after the event. There were no indications to me, and I've worked thousands of cases. But the problem is when women are found in a situation like that and when they lie, and bearing in mind, Casey Anthony lied all the time. She didn't just lie at the point when the little girl died. She was lying for a year plus before that. Right. So when I see women lie, I want to know why. Because normally women lie for a reason. That was the biggest question for me. Why is she lying consistently even before Kaylee dies? Smart, the fact she lies afterwards is congruent with all her behavior of lying and acting strangely. So something happened to her at some point. Now, that's not to excuse the fact that she didn't call for help in the quickest time and all the lies that we know 100% they are lies. There's no question about that. Right. But lying and killing intentionally, premeditated kill is a very different thing. So that case really surprised me because I felt the media played the bigger role in being the judge and jury for her. And people, when women are accused, when women go on trial, everyone wants her to be guilty. When a man goes on trial, like O.J. Simpson, people want him to be found not guilty. Right. So there's a gender bias. You think about the Meredith Kercher case and what happened to Amanda Knox.
Yes.
Everyone wanted her to be found guilty. 8 years she spent in prison for a crime she did not commit. No forensic evidence pointed to her, yet the Italian police already found the suspect, Rudy Guede. There was already forensic evidence in 8 places. It was indisputable that he was the person who raped Meredith and killed her. But Magnini, went for Amanda Knox because he didn't like the way she looked and felt that she acted like a killer. Well, he was already on a charge of public malfeasance in a public office. He should never have been prosecuting that case. And he clearly was misogynistic and he went for her because she didn't fit with his stereotypical view of what an innocent woman would look like because she'd had a number of boyfriends before. And therefore, she ended up under his lens and her being found guilty, not on one single shred of forensic evidence, which is just astounding.
Why do you think people want the women to be guilty?
Because unfortunately, most people are misogynistic. And no one likes to think of themselves as misogynistic. But look at the stories that are told about women when we go back through time. Adam and Eve. Eve ate the apple, caused the problems. Pandora opened the box. Helen of Troy started the war. All the stories that are told about women, we're temptresses, we're not to be believed. We are liars, we are manipulative. All these things, the stories that are made up, are written by whom? Men.
Of course.
So this is one of our biggest challenges. It's the backstory that's been written about us, which then plays in when we see someone like Amanda Knox and Nick Pizzey, a Daily Mail journalist, decides to go on MySpace and then calls her Foxy Noxy, puts that in the media, starts this whole new dialogue that she is into ritualistic stuff, she's into sex games, and begins this whole complete nonsense about who she was when there was no evidence that backed that up. Now, why did he do that? He didn't have to write any of those things. And when he was challenged about it and asked why didn't he fact check, he said, well, why would I? It was the greatest story of all time. I didn't have time to fact check. I was selling newspapers left, right, and center. So
Oh,
again, that
unreal.
was hugely costly, because in the UK, most people thought she was guilty because of that false narrative. So these stories that go in the newspapers, they come from somewhere. And most of the times, as I say to people when I train them, it's not enough to say you're not misogynistic. You have to show that you're anti-misogynistic. It's the same as not enough to say I'm not a racist. You have to show you're anti-racism. And unfortunately, most people carry these thoughts in their heads about women and how women should behave and how women should act. And everyone's got an opinion on whether we should have been out at night at 10 o'clock. And if we were out at night, well, we kind of are to blame. So women get blamed for everything. We get blamed if we fight back. We don't fight back hard enough. But did you scream? Did you scream loud enough? You're asked. So there's this continual degrading of women and what our accounts are and how we should be. And it happens in all cases.
Yeah, I think that is a huge problem. Kelly and I were talking about earlier about just the same thing, is that, you say to women, you can't walk alone at night. Don't go down a dark alley. Don't wear a certain thing. And even if you take precautions and you're listening to that narrative, like you say, then if God forbid, you're involved in a rape or an altercation and you go to admit that, the first thing that they do is to tell you that maybe you're mistaken. Are you sure about that? It's this questioning of women over and over again. It's like, we gave you the rules to follow, and because you didn't follow that rule correctly, that's how you wound up in the situation.
Yes, but where are the rules for the men who rape?
Exactly.
See, every time there's a campaign aimed at women, a prevention campaign, you're talking to the wrong people. Talk to the boys and the men. And that's really where the prevention work comes in, and sanctions of holding men to account. But the grooming, I call it grooming because it happens to girls at a very young age. And it happens to us of being polite, kind, compassionate, empathetic. We're groomed to put other people's needs before our own. And therefore, even before we meet the abuser, we've already been groomed into being polite, not feeling adequate, that we are second rate. His needs matter more than my needs. All these things play in. And they're the things that we're taught to the whole time. Don't walk down the alleyway. Don't take this decision. Don't be too loud. Don't wear the short skirt. But yet when we report, just as you said, most oftentimes women aren't believed. And they're not taken seriously. And like with the PS case, well, the women were told not to go out at night, not the men. And that's what Reclaim the Night marches came from. Curfew men, because then women will be safer. It's really very simple when you break it down.
Right.
I agree.
True crime, obviously, is this huge, it has exploded in the last couple of years, that people are so captivated, and more so women than men, that there are women that, on the Oxygen channel, whatever media it is, that women are so captivated by these cases. Why do you think that it's women are so focused on these things?
I think because we're primarily the victims. That's what I hear from women all the time. And I'm very hard pushed to ever find someone who hasn't suffered from some form of, whether it's groping, hands-on, some form of sexual harassment, street harassment, domestic abuse, sexual harm, sexual violence. I've probably come across a handful of people across my lifetime who haven't experienced some form of abuse. And I think women watch because we want to, well, we're curious, but we want to keep ourselves safer. And I think we do tend to be more curious. We want to figure things out. And more often than not, it's at a subconscious level that these things happen. It's not even at a conscious level. So yes, true crime and real crime really does skew to women, but we're primarily the victims of it. But isn't it ironic that it's men who are telling the stories? They're majority of the time the directors, the producers, the podcasters, and women eat that stuff up. But the problem for me is when I was talking to Chris Goffard when he did the Dirty John podcast, and I explained to him before the podcast landed, the case is all about coercive control. And he said, I've never heard of that term. And I explained it to him, and he said, if only I'd met you before, I would have told the story differently. And I said, bingo, that's the point. Women lived we live very nuanced experiences. And actually, we should be telling our stories, and women should be behind the cameras, and the cinematographers, the directors and producers, and the podcasters actually should be women. And if it's not a woman, then bring in a woman, an expert, to be a consultant. But what I tend to see is that men think they know best. Well, show me something different. I mean, that's tended to be the dominant trope, forever, that we live in a patriarchal society. Therefore, most women just accept it. When a man speaks, he speaks with more authority than a woman. And female podcasters get, well, isn't she shrill, or I don't like her voice, and they get tone police, whereas a man can do whatever he wants. So I think women also need to look at their own misogyny and their own grooming and patterning, because we are also susceptible to it and the patriarchy, and we continue it. And we don't always lift other women up. So, sorry, that's a long answer, but there's just so many parts to it.
No, we love that. And, we thank you so much for sharing all this insight. I have learned so much, and I know Jamie has learned so much.
Yes.
Can you leave us on a note if women are, if someone watching is being stalked or being harassed or in an uncomfortable situation, what should they do?
Well, firstly, know that you're not alone. And no, it's not your fault, no matter what you did, because most women feel it's our own fault for the reason, don't go outside, don't do this, don't do that. So it's not your fault, and you're not alone, and seek help. Speak to a specialist. That's the first thing, from your mind to making it real, of saying something, even if it's anonymous to someone, as in there's Crime Stoppers and various other charities that you can speak to, and you don't have to say your name, but don't allow it to isolate you, because it's a very lonely place when you experience abuse. And to women who are, and at the moment the world's not really open, but when we're in bars and clubs and pubs, or someone puts their hands, a man puts his hands around your waist to move past you, call him out on it. Don't just say, oh, someone's handsy, call them out, because it's constant compliance checking, boundary testing. And women, we always feel that we should be polite and we should not upset that person or not appear rude. But I say, don't be polite, say what you really mean and say what you feel, and make sure that your feelings and your needs are heard. But definitely get specialist advice if you're in a, for example, long-term relationship and there's domestic abuse going on or coercive control, because even when someone leaves the relationship, that's the most dangerous time.
And before we let you go, I know we have to go because we're running long. I could literally talk to you forever. I have so many questions. I would like to talk to you literally about everything, but I want to know, you are working on a bill, a very important bill in Parliament, and I want to know more about, first, the coercive control law, of course, and then the domestic abuse bill, the reform that you were working on.
Well, I'm working on 3 different pieces of legislation right now in Australia, in England and Wales, and America. So the first, coercive control, was something that I campaigned for in 2014-15 to be legislated for, so that it wasn't just physical abuse that was on our statute books, that the law reflected domestic abuse in all its guises, because the non-physical, the coercive element, the domination, the subordination, the financial abuse, the psychological abuse, most women tell me that's the worst part. And when you review murders, it correlates significantly with femicide. So that happened in 2015, England and Wales. We put it on our statute books. Now I've been campaigning in Australia to do the same, and Queensland have said that they will legislate in the wake of Hannah Clark's and her 3 beautiful daughters, 3 children, Alia, Liana and Trey, in the wake of their murder a year ago. They will legislate, after I gave a presentation to many of the organizations in Queensland. Now, I would like that to be a federal law, so I'm working with people across Australia, like Jess Hill, and I also am working in England and Wales on the domestic abuse bill. And my amendment 164 is about serial perpetrators, so serial domestic abusers and stalkers, to be proactively identified, assessed and managed by police, prison and probation across the UK, so that it's national. You think about terrorism, there's a huge international response to terrorism, yet the people who are killed in a terrorist act are minimal compared to the thousands of women and children who are killed by domestic violence perpetrators, who are the most dangerous, who are allowed to act with impunity. There is no join up. So if you move from one area to another, your history doesn't move with you. There's no database that tracks you. So that's what I'm trying to change in England and Wales. And here in America, I've got coercive control on the statute books in New York and also California. And I'm talking to Connecticut tomorrow, various other states. So It is a very busy time. And you do have to do it all. You have to educate, you have to create momentum, you have to create law change.
Sure.
And unless we go for the perpetrators and focus on them, we ain't going to change anything about violence against women and girls, because the women and children are not the problem. Men are. The men who abuse. And I don't accept when people say, well, it's not all men, because it's all men's responsibility to do something about it.
I think that is a perfect note. And you are such an inspiration. I mean, what a job. Like really giving a voice to all of these women and children. Like it brings tears to my eyes. Like really giving them that amazing voice is just so incredible. So thank you for all you do. And we will continue to support all of these things. We would love for the United States to extend these bills and all of these reforms to for our country as well. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we hope to follow you, and we will give updates to all of our viewers on what you're doing. And if there's anything we can do to help, if we're signing a petition or anything, please pass it on, and we will encourage everyone to do so.
Wonderful. Thank
and
you.
We'll be listening to your podcast. It is amazing and wonderful. So great job on that. You are rocking it.
Thank you.
Jimmy, was that interview not amazing?
Well, yes, incredible. I almost like had to not cry, because it's such a serious issue, and like the crimes that she's talking about and all of these victims.
Right.
So like we should say that, our thoughts and prayers are with all of these victims and all of their families and everyone who has been, involved with these, not only these cases, but cases like all over the world. This is a very, very serious topic. So we'll tell you a little bit about her petition. So Laura started these petitions. We've posted them all to our Facebook page. And I'm going to sign her petitions. So she's campaigning for domestic violence laws to be strengthened and modernized in the U.S. to reflect the reality of domestic abuse, all its guises, and better protect women and girls. They're a group of survivors, campaigners, activists, and experts, and these petitions and these laws are literally going to save lives. So, abusers reported for 50 or more offenses were no more likely to be punished than those who committed a single offense. So you see
insane. These
serial perpetrators, and they are not being, like, the laws that are in place, they're just not effective. They're old laws. So Laura is doing incredible work to change these laws and protect us all. This is a global issue.
Right.
So a very, very serious interview. And I also want to give you the phone number. If you are the victim of domestic violence, if you know someone who needs help, please reach out to the domestic abuse hotline. Their number is 1-800-799-SAFE. That is 1-800-799-7233. So please reach out and get help if you're the victim. It's so sad.
It is so sad.
So,
I know.
So sad.
Well, let's try to change directions here.
Yes, let's
something
change
a little
directions. And thank you, Laura, so much. It was such a pleasure.
Amazing.
She's just incredible.
Yeah. So let's go to Pets of the Week.
Let's do some Pets of the Week. Judy, you have
those? Oh, never mind. We're not doing Pets of the Week.
Okay.
We will post them on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll post them. But there's this cute dog and a cute little cat. So the cat is Rotunda. She's a 6-year-old short-haired cat. She has a little patch on her back, and they say it will grow back. But a cutie little one.
Yeah,
and
so
Margot is a 4-year-old pocket pitty.
He's cute.
A pocket pitty. I've never heard of
tiny
it.
pitty.
Oh my God! If Ryan sees this, he's gonna make us get another dog.
Do it.
A pocket pitty? Interesting. Margot. She doesn't dominate the conversation by barking.
Okay.
Just make some grunts to respond to your questions. I like this dog.
New dog for Jamie and Ryan.
Pocket pitty. I don't think we can get another dog. It's just.
You can't even control the two you have.
Oh my God. I'm still trying to deal with the step situation because we had our carpet replaced, so they are banned from the steps.
I know.
They can't.
Give me an update on what you're eating now.
So, I'm trying to stay gluten-free and vegan by way of
Carbs?
I have slipped a little bit.
It's hard.
It is. It is very hard. And you know what the hardest part is when you're trying to eat or diet or change your lifestyle? It's when you're in a pinch, like when you're
When you're
starving,
starving.
you're like, oh my God, okay, where am I gonna find a vegan restaurant? How do I get to Iron Pathos? Like, I'm like, I just can't. I'm just gonna go through this drive-through and call it a day and hope that.
And the fact that you hate salad is an issue.
Oh, I hate salad. Salad is the worst. And I've tried, so Lissa told me that if I leave the salad out and like get it to room temperature that I won't hate it as much, but I still
Ooh, I don't think so. I don't want a warm salad.
a warm salad. It still tastes like salad and it's warm. It's so much salad.
I'm not doing that.
But I have been eating lots of veggies and hummus. I do like veggies. I just don't like them all together in a salad form.
That's weird.
So like if you can break
I
it
like
up.
a good salad.
Do you? I mean, I like a Caesar salad, but that's
Okay,
not
maybe
helpful.
it's the lettuce you don't like. Would you eat a salad that has like red peppers, cucumbers?
Yes, I like cucumbers.
Avocados.
Yeah.
Like, could you eat just leave out the lettuce part?
Probably.
Is it the lettuce that bothers you is my question.
I think maybe you're right. Maybe I don't like the lettuce because I do like all the other stuff. I don't like red peppers, but
How about orange peppers?
I don't like. They're too like crunchy and weird. But I like cucumbers because they're like a little mushy. They're like crunchy
Carrots?
but mushy. Carrots are okay.
Celery? That's
Okay.
gonna be like the grossest salad ever.
Damn it, Kelly! I thought we were onto something here. I'm still drinking my celery juice every morning.
Good.
So I've been going through a lot of celery, and I feel like that's really helping. So celery is a really good reset. So if like you're detoxing, like after a baby shower.
Do you know you lose weight if you eat celery?
Yeah, they said it's like the
Meaning
calories.
you burn more calories actually eating it
Yeah.
than you intake.
Why can it be that way for French
Pizza.
fries? Like, why? I'm chewing the same thing. Why? Yeah, like it seems like, well, it's kind of easy to swallow, but maybe if I chew the beer a little bit, like would that help me?
That's like a Guinness.
Yeah, like why is it just celery? Like I feel like
I think I don't think celery really has anything in it.
all right, doctors, I'm going to task you with this. Since you've invented the COVID vaccine, we know that you know what you're doing. Can you invent me a burger that when I eat it, I lose weight?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be.
Ooh, okay, while we're talking about food, okay, I just learned this.
Oh.
Okay, where do bananas grow? Where do you think bananas grow?
Like in a field?
No, I mean,
like in a tree?
They grow on a.
On a tree?
They don't.
Where do they grow?
On
Like,
a
I thought-
flower.
on a, what do you mean on
It's like a
flower?
plant, and it flowers, and then the bananas come out of the flower. Apparently.
Wait a second. No, I've
Yes.
seen these monkeys climbing up in every kid's book. The monkey
I
goes
know.
up that tree to
I
get a
know.
banana.
I think no. Listen. My 7-year-old was like, "Did you know that?" I was like, "I did not." I was like, "I don't believe you."
It's not a banana tree?
I thought it was a banana tree. Okay, how are potatoes grown? Is it a tree? But I saw a picture of it. She showed it to me on TikTok. It's like this big stalk. Maybe it can grow both ways.
We're going to have to, if you know any monkeys, please have them reach out to us because I want to know.
How potatoes grow?
Potatoes, don't they grow underground, right?
I think so, but that doesn't make sense to me either, because you know you can grow a potato just from another potato. Like if you buy potatoes and don't use them, they start to sprout and grow more potatoes.
That is really weird. I think it's really
I don't
weird
know
to
why.
grow, to grow. So I have a basil plant. So you know my Instacart problems.
Yeah.
So I tried to order basil the other day and my Instacart shopper said, they don't have any basil. Would you like a small plant?
It costs the same amount.
And I was like, sure. I'll get the whole plant. So my Instacart driver delivered me this basil plant. And so I've had it for 2 weeks. I have not eaten a single piece of basil, but I am obsessed with growing this plant. So every day, so it's a mini plant.
Right, I get them.
It's in a little cup, and I water it every day, and I put it in the sunshine. And it's on like a little table by our window. And Ryan, when he uses the table, he moves the basil plant. And I was like, she's not gonna grow over there. And I am like growing this tiny plant, but I haven't. But I was like, I feel like it would be so weird to eat it because I've invested so much time in growing it. I like don't want to eat
You
it.
killed your money tree.
I know.
I mean,
Like I don't want to eat it because I feel like I've put in the work. I don't-
effort.
It's like eating your dog. I feel like.
so no, that's a stretch.
Well,
It is not the same.
I'm growing my basil plant. I haven't eaten any basil, but maybe I'll make like some pesto out of the plant. It just
Why
seems
don't you
weird
do
to
it?
eat it. You know what I mean? I feel bad. So yeah, I'm eating
Okay.
that. How did this topic come up with what we're eating?
Because I said, how is your diet going? Or what are you eating now?
Oh, yes. That's what I'm eating.
Okay.
Nothing. All right, so I have some funny tweets for
Okay.
you. You want to do some funny tweets?
Yeah.
hilarious tweet that sums up what it's like to do your taxes every year. Tax season is upon us again. And so since COVID, you had the extension on your taxes. So I feel like I just filed last year's taxes and now I'm back in taxes again.
Like, no, thank you.
And do you know, so I learned this. So you guys know that I started a business last year. So I'm not, I have never owned a business. So I'm not privy to all of these amazing taxes that small businesses have to pay. It is, so I signed on to the Albemarle website and I'm like going to pay my taxes. And I said, what is tangible, what is it called? Tangible property tax. I said, what does that mean? So I called the county and I said, what is a tangible, what is $300 in tangible? And she goes, you pay taxes on all of your furniture, your equipment. And I said, why would I pay, I bought it and paid taxes when I bought it. And she goes, yeah, you pay taxes on it. I go, I have to keep paying taxes on the taxes that I already paid every single year?
That can't be right.
You pay taxes on everything so every chair in my store, every table that I've already purchased and own and paid taxes on, I pay taxes again.
Right, but no, that sounds weird. I mean, I believe you that that's what they're saying, but like, I pay taxes on my house, but they're not like re-taxing me for what I have in my house.
It's a business tax only. So you know how we pay, so in Virginia we
how
pay.
Is the government gonna know how much your couch was in your,
you give them your personal property. You say, I bought this thing for $20, and they say, okay, well, we're gonna assign a tax to that. And so in Virginia, so
that is crap.
A lot of you who are watching from out of state, you don't have personal property tax. So here in Virginia, we pay personal property tax on our cars, on our stuff. We pay so we pay these taxes. But in a business, you continue to pay taxes on everything you own, even though you've already paid them. I was like, Albemarle County, are you guys kidding me? But yeah, I'm paying taxes on all that.
Okay,
so, anyway.
And back to this. Bananas do not grow on trees. Bananas grow on the largest, a word I can't read, flowering plant in the world. Hence, it does not grow on trees. Judah, the master of Jeopardy, was incorrect.
Oh, cut to the Judah cam.
But no, he doesn't want to be, he doesn't even have a camera anymore. Right.
Well,
there's no more Judah cam.
At Derek Litt says, I was doing my taxes on TurboTax, and the next thing I know, they said I owe money. I never closed a website so fast.
That's funny. Okay, how about this? What happens if you put in the paperwork to start a business, but you don't follow through and it's not a business? What do you do then?
Nothing. Then you wouldn't have to pay because you don't have anything. But once you have a business and you open your business, you
No, but like, let's say I started an online business and I applied for all the things, right? So I have an LLC, whatever, right? But I never got it up and running. I never sold anything on it. What happens then?
So you would just pay. You would have no revenue.
So do you have to fill out anything?
No, you don't have to. Well, yes, you do. You have to file a 0. So you have to fill out your paperwork every month saying, I have this business. Because if you have an active business license, you have to renew that license every year.
Or you can take a $50,000 loss and use that as a tax shelter for your other businesses.
Jerry, this is a perfect tweet for you. Dan Kaufman says, I just did my own taxes. I should be in jail by the morning. A tax shelter.
Wait, how do you cancel a business?
You just don't renew your business license. Canceled.
But as long as you have the license, you have to turn in something?
Yes.
Okay, note to self.
Yep.
We'll do that soon.
That's all the stuff that I was learning when I have a business. So when I opened up the business, imagine I'm sitting in this store and I say, okay, I'm collecting tax. Where does that go? Is there a tax person that I send this money to? So you have to figure out, where do you send taxes? Food and beverage tax, that's a whole other tax that's different than sales tax. So you're paying out constant taxes to all different places. Everyone, and for small businesses, so this is another topic while we're on this, minimum wage. How do you feel about the idea that they want to raise the minimum wage to $15?
Like personally or as a business person?
Just in general.
I mean, I think minimum wage I think people should be paid what they're worth, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it depends on the job, but also from a business standpoint then, what is minimum wage now?
7 something.
Okay, so then you're doubling it, right? What do small business owners then do? They probably don't have enough money to afford double what they're paying people.
Right.
So then I think it might backfire because then either you're going to hire half as many people,
Right.
right?
That's what I think. I think it's really, so we
Because
pay
$15 is a lot.
$15 is a lot. And I think that, when you're incrementally trying to figure out like what the minimum wage is, I think we should take smaller steps. Like maybe going from $7 to $10. Maybe going, so basically the idea
Right, but
is
think
like,
if you have a gazillion employees,
right. It's a
if
lot
you have
of
like
money.
500 employees,
Right.
I mean, that could put you out of business.
Right. So basically they're saying that, the cost of living has gone up so dramatically.
Right.
Everything is more expensive and people aren't able like to live on a minimum wage, which I totally understand. But I think that $15 for a small business, like our business, if we had 4 employees, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Right, but
to
then
a
you're going to
small
just
business.
charge more.
You would-
Your $20 craft
Right.
now is a $40 craft.
Right. So now, that's
But then it's just a kind of consecutive circle.
Right.
So you make more, but now everything's going to cost more.
right. Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Am I thinking about that? I mean,
Yes.
Obviously, I had a brain fart at the beginning of the show, so I
Yes.
might not be thinking clearly now.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. That's the point. Exactly. So if we pay people more and all of our products, our goods and services, all of that stuff goes up, it's basically like you're making the same amount of money anyway because businesses
Right.
have to cover that. Right?
Right, but I don't know how to get out of that cyclical cycle.
I don't know either. That's a question that we're not going to solve on today's edition of
Jamie, you and I are never going to be the ones to solve
Two
that.
girls and a drink. Sarah and Susie won't be able to solve it.
We're
But
definitely not solving it.
It's a big.
I don't know. I'm confused. I don't get that stuff.
It's a big
I don't
deal.
do well with that stuff. So, okay, let's talk about who is on next week.
Next week. What is today's
And isn't
date?
next week your birthday week?
What is it? Next week is my birthday week. My birthday is next Sunday. I'm so excited.
Next Sunday?
I'm so excited to do nothing because I don't.
What
think we're
are you gonna do?
I don't know. I haven't even like thought about it. We've been so busy doing all this stuff, and like I haven't even really thought about it. But we are going to have Dana Cohen on.
Very
She was
exciting.
an amazing chef on Hell's Kitchen.
Yes.
She was the runner-up, so she was so close to winning.
So
she is
close.
so awesome.
What is she doing now?
She has like her own thing going on. She's still working as a chef. She has all of her own stuff. So she's going to tell us what she's been up to. I can't wait to ask her about Hell's Kitchen and what is the deal that no one can cook scallops. Scallops is like the
No one can cook scallops on that
downfall of Hell's Kitchen. If you've ever watched that
I've
show,
never cooked a scallop, so I am not one to judge.
and
Is
no
it
ma-
difficult?
When you cook, you put it in a pan, you wait for one side to cook, and you flip it. Very easy. It's like a burger. Very, very simple. And every single, it doesn't matter
Wait,
what
don't you have to
season.
like keep like
No, you're just kind
putting
of
butter or whatever, like spooning stuff on it?
chefs
I always
do
see
it.
them. They're always like,
Right.
like spooning stuff on it. I don't know.
And the risotto. The risotto is like the worst. Like,
I can't cook
and then
risotto either,
Gordon
so-
Ramsay is like, it's crunchy, it's mushy, it's this. It's like, oh my God, why don't you take it off the menu? It's just too much. It's really, so she's going to tell us all about it.
We're not
She's
doing
awesome.
risotto anymore.
I mean, that's what if it was my kitchen, I'd be like, okay, there's no risotto. We're gonna make it very simple. We're doing spaghetti and meatballs, very, very simple. Like we're gonna keep grilled cheese, it's kids' night. Like let's not overcomplicate it. Don't
No.
throw a scallop in there.
I wouldn't.
You know?
It's like oatmeal, though. Do you know what? Oatmeal is supposed to be easy to cook.
Yeah.
I feel like oatmeal's wrong no matter what I hate oatmeal, so I think it's wrong. But it's either like too mushy, not cooked enough, too
Yeah.
watery, too like
I love oatmeal.
Ew.
I love oatmeal and like with like fruit and stuff. But every single time, so I try to make it in the microwave.
it's too watery that way.
My father actually makes it on the stove.
So does Lena. Lena
And
makes it on the stove.
I make it in the microwave. So when you make it in the microwave,
It's like soup.
it basically like blows up. You know what I mean? Like it blows up and then it sinks down.
Yeah,
it's
it's weird.
really, really weird. So I just watch it until it's ready to like explode. And if I miss it, it just falls over. And I'm like, no. Oatmeal is like the worst thing to cook. So it's either exploding or like watery. And you're like, damn it, you know what? No more oatmeal.
No
Like,
more oatmeal. Do it on the
It's
stove.
just really too
Okay.
hard.
Well, I'm excited about next week.
Yeah. So special thanks to our sponsors, Colonial Auto Center. If you're looking for a New Year's vehicle, if you are looking to
Still want my
service
VW
your-
bus.
Yes, I went over there to get state inspection at Colonial Auto Center. They are really, really wonderful. They are also hiring. So if you are a woman and you're looking to get into the field of automotive, it is an awesome career. I would highly recommend checking out Colonial. They're amazing. Panera Bread.
Delish. You should try the new teriyaki chicken bowl.
Wow, you guys are like,
It's delish.
I know. Pikasso Swig, we're getting ready to launch our Easter basket.
Sign my kids up. Your Easter baskets last year were
Thanks.
killer.
I'm so excited. So we're going to get ready to deliver some Easter baskets. We're going to have the bunny out and about delivering baskets this year. So check out our website at picassoswig.com. All kinds of good stuff. We got a good lineup coming up. But thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And again, check out our Facebook page. And we want to, again, stress how much this episode was super, super important. And we want to really spread the word about what Laura is doing. But if you need help or if you are the victim of domestic violence, please call and reach out to the hotline again at 1-800-799-SAFE.
Love it. I hope you have a great week, Jamie.
You too. Have the best week ever. Maybe we won't have any rain.
Oh, please. The sun will come out tomorrow, liar.
The sun will come out.
End the show, Judah.
Tomorrow.
Judah, it's over. End of show.
That's one of my favorite songs.
End of show.
In Spanish. Miniana.
No.
Bet your bottom dollar. That miniana. There'll be sun. I love that song. It's such a beautiful rendition when I sing it. It's a mix between Celine Dion and a little J-Lo.
No, and you're mixed between Spanish and English.
Oh, yeah. Dollar. Is that how you say dollar?
Okay, you're done.
All right.
It's over.
All right, everyone.
Show is
Thanks
done.
for tuning in, and we hope that the sun will come out. Miniana.
I'm gonna put my shoes back on. I think I have a hole in my rain boots, so my socks are wet. So I had to take them off. Now I'm putting them back on.
All right.
You guys did acting well on that show.